In this life, we only get one shot, and as such, we have to make sense of what we're given, even if it proves to be extremely difficult. One of the ways in which I understand things is by thinking about my characters. There is specifically one character who I'm thinking about, as well as his friend. This character's name is Salazar, and his friend Wolf, who is a werewolf, and they're very close, but they live in a very chaotic world and things don't always make sense to either of them. It doesn't make sense to Wolf because of his innocence. It doesn't make sense to Salazar because of his shrewdness or innocence, depending on how you look at it. Of course, we need fictions, we need myths, we need these things to be able to make sense of the world. And I think one of the best ways that I can communicate a very meaningful and impacting myth is by talking about Salazar. Or at least this little snippet of Salazar. I'm not really sure that I understand Salazar as a character, honestly, but I find him fascinating in the sense that he has the best of the snake within him, and even though he longs to kill the basilisk, he nonetheless appreciates his nature. Wolf, of course, appreciates this about Salazar, but he's not necessarily able to see all of this and see all of this through and see all of this in a light that makes the most sense. It's very interesting to have snakes and wolves together because they always kind of represent they kind of represent instinct, the way that certain creatures are very instinctual. And I've always thought of the snake as being very calculated and savage, but in a way that's for ultimate survival. And then in terms of wolf, he's a creature that lashes out. And the interesting thing about wolf is the fact that he's gay. And because he's gay, he hits on Salazar a lot, and he doesn't always succeed because Salazar is not gay. But as I've been saying lately in my mind, werewolves are gay. And at least most werewolves are gay, and we have to understand this because, of course, it's about their changes. It's about the emphasis on their body and their body hair. The sideburns, I'm watching Teen Wolf right now and kind of experiencing the idea of the ravageness, the savageness of the wolf, and how they transform, and how that's a very sexual act in many ways, or at least could be interpreted as very sensual. Honestly, my life has kind of been falling apart lately. This is because I've had no intelligible way of looking at the world, and this is why I decided to kind of hold on to and grasp the notion of Salazar, because Salazar comes from a lot of memories in my life. For instance, it comes from the memory of my experience watching Harry Potter, such as the Chamber of Secrets, where there are direct references to Salazar Slytherin. Definitely is related to that idea, and definitely in terms of this idea of the basilisk, which I got from Harry Potter as well. But of course, my ideas aren't just mere ripoffs because they are filtered through my subjective lens, especially when I was very manic and psychotic at one point in my life when I was 21, and the way in which I perceived these ideas, thinking that I myself was a snake, that I was like Salazar Slytherin, and I was trying to take down the corrupt establishment of Gryffindors, actually. And in that way, you can see my originality starting to spark even at that age, because that doesn't happen in Harry Potter at all. In fact, things are darker. They're probably even darker than Teen Wolf. And isn't it interesting the way that we relate to so many ideas in the world, so many ideas in media and film, but all of that could just be mere propaganda? So Salazar. Who is Salazar? I'm not really sure I can say. I'm not sure that I understand who Salazar is, in fact. But I don't really feel as though I need to understand. I think that Salazar is a character that is very vivid in my mind. And he makes a lot of sense. He really does. He makes a lot of sense to me because he's so raw within his beauty. And he doesn't always see that beauty because he's not necessarily vain like a snake. And yet he's perfectly vain like the snake biting their own tail because they want a taste of themselves. So I want to say that all of this probably sounds like psychosis, and that's honestly fine in the sense that it is psychosis in a way. A little bit of mania, a little bit of depression, paranoia, what have you, it doesn't really matter as much, because Salazar is a crystallization of imagination. Is a manifestation of my specific imagination, and I hope that Salazar can live in your mind. We invent these myths because we have to try to understand the world, and to me, even though I can't exactly pin down what Salazar is or who he is, I would say that he's important for my understanding of the primal instincts that we have, and it's the same thing with Wolf, and I'm so glad that they can be friends. And as a side note, yes, Wolf is inspired by a couple things. He is inspired by Scruff, the gay app for the dating gay app for men, where you wolf at guys because you like them, and Wolf is also a reference to Wolf, who is a character in The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. Anyway, that's about all I have to say for now. I hope you enjoyed this little talk. These are just some ideas and some of my myth making. Alright, until next time.